The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Earnestly Speaking podcast coming to you on May 31st, 2022. It is the last day, of course, of this month. I can't believe how fast this year is going. Honestly, I can't believe we're approaching 1 month away from the halfway point of 2022. It's been a very interesting year, to say the least. Can't say it's been great or it's been even keel. I mean, certainly not 2020. Certainly not as bad as 2020 was. Even 2021 to some degree. So I mean, things looking up in some ways. I mean, obviously we're all going through a lot now with inflation and things are just tough. Obviously, school shootings and all that crap going on right now. We're all dealing with as a country and all that. And we're just trying to get. We're all just trying to get through it, man. Honestly, we're all trying to get through it. And honestly, just keep your head up. Obviously, people, keep your heads up. Try to keep you focused on the things that matter. Hug your family, kiss your family, stay in touch with the family, all that. Like I said, it's just a lot going on. And even the last couple days for me right now, I've been dealing with two sick kids in my house right now. Honestly, my oldest and youngest son were both sick over the weekend. And it kind of put things in perspective for me, also, honestly, because, especially with, when it comes to, me and things that I'm into and, for example, the Miami Heat just lost their, in 7 games to the Celtics, in the East Conference Finals. And all weekend long, after Game 6, of course, and the excitement of Game 6 and Jimmy Butler's, heroic performance and pushing the 7 games, which I thought they had no chance of, or no business being in there in the first place, and the nerves going to Game 7 was kind of tempered by the fact that my kids were not feeling well. In fact, during the game, during Game 7, between the second quarter and third quarter, my oldest son, especially too, who's taking it harder than anybody else, he's, I'm upstairs in the middle of the game trying to, clean up, vomit because he threw up a couple times because he's had a stomach issue since Sunday evening. My wife actually just came home from work and she took him to the hospital, a little while ago just because, he was like avoiding going to the hospital for the last couple of days, and then all of a sudden the pain came back again recently in the last couple of hours, and then we just, I asked me, do you want to go to the hospital? You want to try to get through this? No, naturally, but whatever with me. And he said, you know what? Let's go to the hospital. Screw it. So my wife came home because I want to take both kids. One of my kids are sleeping already too, especially, and so she took it to the hospital. So my kids been, they've been on summer vacation since Friday, and it's been rough already. I mean, I don't know what it is. It's been a rough couple of days for them already. But again, it's funny, like, all the things that matter. All the things that you put yourself into and the nerves and all that, perspective comes around, and, going through that, and, during Game 7, having to deal with him while during the game was going on, it put things in perspective. Yes, I'm sad that the Heat lost to Game 7, especially to the Celtics, because I hate the Celtics, although I respect this team. I was not, I've always been a anti-Boston guy just because it's in my blood. It is what it is, but, sometimes you get perspective on things that matter, and my kids' health is definitely priority number one. So that's something I've been dealing with for the last couple of days, obviously. So other than that, though, as you just said, we now have our NBA Finals. We have Golden State and Boston. It should be a fun series. I'm gonna be honest with you. I know a lot of my fellow Heat fans are gonna not like I'm gonna say here, but I'm gonna say it anyway. This is the better finals, like, aesthetically speaking. Like, I prefer Miami being there, of course, because I'm a Heat fan. But if you ask me as a basketball fan, what would have been the better matchup? I was saying Warriors and Celtics probably since the second round of the playoffs. That would have been the best matchup based on aesthetics. And Boston, historically, especially the last couple of years with this Warriors dynasty, they have given Golden State problems. I have said in the past that Boston and Golden State would beat the finals. Even in the last couple of years, I did say that Boston would give them some issues. Now, I didn't say Boston would beat them. I just said that Boston would provide some pushback. I think ultimately Golden State is the better team. They have the experience. It's the 6 finals in 8 years, and I argue this team is. I mean, I was not as good as the Durant team from 2016, 17, and 18. I say 19, but 19 he played in the finals, but it's definitely an experienced team, a team that still has some youth also too. That's coming up from behind the core of Curry and Clay and Draymond. But I think Boston can give some fits. I think Boston's defense, especially too, could definitely, present some interesting matchups and stuff. I think the issue with this series is, can Boston sustain? Because one of the things you saw in this East Finals against Miami was that Boston would tend to have moments where they get off the gas rather. You saw in Game 1, they came out firing all cylinders first half, up 8 at halftime. Miami literally wins Game 1 based on the third quarter alone. Miami took over the Game 1. Okay, and then you had Game 3 where the Celtics came out once again flat, and they were down by 26 1 point in the first half of that game. To come back and obviously they almost win that game, but then you have Game 4, Game 6 obviously, where again a game that they should have won. Miami's on his last legs with the injuries and all that, and Jimmy Butler goes nuts. And then Game 7 they had that game that the Heat did the rights in the last 5 minutes of the game, and then all of a sudden the Heat hung around and almost had a chance to win that game late in the fourth quarter of that Game 7. They didn't win it, but the fact that Boston was up by 13 late in the fourth quarter and they blew that lead, it's one of those things where, like, okay, it's Miami, and I love the Heat, of course, but you can't do the Golden State. You can't do the Steph Curry and company. That's not gonna happen. You do that to Steph Curry and company. This don't play, because the Warriors will destroy you. The Warriors will make you pay times 1,000. So I've been sitting on this prediction for the last couple of days. About where we'll go. And honestly, I'm leaning Golden State in 6. At one point, I was thinking about maybe Golden State in 5. But to me, it comes down to the injuries. It comes down to, is Robert Williams going to be available for the series and healthy? Because he was not healthy. He hasn't been healthy the entire playoffs. I mean, credit to him for pushing through and trying to be there for his team. But he's missed a couple of games too, especially in the last series, last 2 series, really, to be honest with you. And he was, even when he's played like in Game 7, he didn't play a lot in Game 7. I don't. It was because of the injury. I don't know. It was because of just a coaching decision, whatever it may be. But they need all hands in for this series against Golden State. You need all hands in, and Robert Williams provides a matchup that actually Golden State cannot deal with. And Robert Williams also is not only great on the boards in the paint, he's actually pretty good on the perimeter too as a defender. I mean, you saw him chasing 3-point shots from the in the finals against the Heat, these finals against the Heat, and he was defending 3-point shots on the perimeter and blocking them too. In fact, But like I said, this finals will be interesting. I think it's going to be a fantastic, matchup. I mean, really, this is the finals America probably wanted, I guess. I mean, this is the finals they wanted. This is the finals that everybody's been talking about. I mean, you saw ESPN and other publications pushing even before Game 6, saying this is inevitable. Celtics and Warriors, and no respect to the Heat, of course. And granted, Boston did get in, but it got close. It got a little testy at the end. But this is the finals apparently America apparently wanted. So we're here, Boston and Golden State, and I'm going to take Golden State in 6. I do think if Boston plays the cards right, it's going to go 7 games, but they got to be engaged all the way through. They got to be engaged all the way through, and so we'll see where that goes. Obviously, for Game 1's on Thursday. What I might do throughout the series, I was going to try to get Chris and Zach on this. Hopefully, after each game, but I don't know if it's going to be very possible. So what I may do is, after each game, do a quick 5 or 10 minute podcast recapping the game. I'm not entirely sure if I'll be able to do a podcast after Game 1, a full show on Thursday. I haven't decided if I'm going to do a full show on Thursday. We'll see what happens there. But I'm going to attempt to, at least for myself, do a post game wrap up of each game. My thoughts and whatnot. If I can get Chris and Zach on the horn for that as well too, to be great for the In the Paint. I was actually supposed to record an In the Paint podcast today for previewing the finals, but of course things went haywire tonight with my son, and I was doing this podcast now, but I didn't want to get Chris and Zach on the pod while in case my wife needs to call me and give me updates at the hospital with my son. So I decided to do the solo podcast for now, and we'll probably do that. Hopefully we do the preview on Wednesday. So we'll see what happens there. But like I said, I have Golden State in 6. But I think Boston's a good chance. I think Boston getting the game could definitely keep this interesting. I also think Boston needs to steal Game 1. I think they could steal Game 1 this way too, because the Golden State will now have had a week off since the last game. So we'll see what happens there, and maybe be a little rusty in Game 1. We'll see what happens. One topic I saw last week too also is about between Boston and Golden State was looking at the future. These teams are still fairly. I mean, well, look, Golden State's core is a little bit older now. Not old, but older. because they've been doing this for now 8 years. Last 8 finals they've been into now. And obviously Boston's core is fairly young as well too. Mid-20s, all that. Both Tatum and Jaylen Brown are under 25 years old. Is the topic about who has the better chances of winning multiple titles moving forward. And obviously the opposite answer will probably, people think, oh well, the opposite answer is probably Golden State because of the better team. But I actually, to be honest with you, I don't think it's actually that easy, because while I would say Golden State has a great chance to win titles this year, of course, next year, and maybe the year after that, because of the core, the Western Conference next year is going to be a nightmare for them. Okay? Again, you have all the teams. Memphis, of course, had a fantastic year. They're going to be around. John Morant is here to stay. Obviously, you're going to have Denver come back in the mix next year with fully healthy. We'll see what the Lakers do. I doubt the Lakers will be good next year. We'll see. But you still have LeBron. AD stays healthy. Anything can happen. The Clippers will be back. Kawhi and Paul George will be back healthy next year. New Orleans is coming. Minnesota is coming. Obviously, you got teams like that in the mix. Phoenix is still going to be pretty good. So there's a lot of teams in the Western Conference that are going to still make Golden State work for their chance to get to the finals. In fact, I would say the Golden State's trek from start to finish is tougher than Boston's. Now, Boston will have an issue with top-heavy teams. Obviously, Miami's going to be in the mix a little bit. Milwaukee will be back next year. Giannis and company will be back next year. Philadelphia, we'll see how that goes. But if Harden can turn the narrative around on himself, and Embiid, of course, is an MVP runner-up this year. I expect Atlanta to be decent next year. Brooklyn, we'll see. I mean, we have doubts about Brooklyn. They're a mess, obviously. But I think Boston, when you get past Milwaukee and maybe Miami and Philadelphia, and both those teams, we don't know where we're going to be next year or two because of the possible transitions or modifications they make to the roster. I think Boston's trek is actually easier than Golden State's, at least in the immediate future. So I would actually put the chances of that on Boston to winning multiple titles. I think they'll actually be the team that will likely get to the finals more often in the next 5 years than, say, Golden State, based on decisions, based on environment. So, but it's an interesting situation there as to what teams of these two teams are going to be of the future of this league. Obviously Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and whatnot are young enough, but again, health matters too, especially too. I mean, we're not including health in this argument, so obviously that doesn't matter. Now, close out the NBA Finals here. Talk here. I'm going to list you. I said last week on the podcast that we're going to start doing this on the Tuesday pods. You guys know I love ranking things. We're going to start doing top 5 things, top 5 ranking things, top 5. So the debut of this, we're going to do top 5 people under the most pressure in these NBA Finals. So here we go. I'm going to go 5 to 1. Number 5 to me is Draymond Green. Draymond Green. I don't know the number exactly, but he's closing in on possibly, I think 1 or 2 more technicals away from spending one game. So very interesting to see how Draymond Green operates. Obviously, he's doing media on top of that too. But Draymond Green needs to keep his cool. Obviously, he's needed to be there, because they are a small team and Boston's big. So Draymond Green's, is going to be needed much to be in a series to shut down, Tatum's of the world and all that. So Draymond Green is the 5th most important player in this finals. Number 4, Andrew Wiggins. I say Wiggins because obviously Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, those guys, even Jordan Poole. But one of the things you saw in the Dallas series is that even when Steph Curry was having an off day, to a lesser extent Klay Thompson, when Andrew Wiggins goes off, this team is still unbeatable. And he was that guy. I remember it was a game 1 and game 2 where I remember the first half, Steph and Klay were combined 2 of 15 from the field in the first half, and yet they were up by 12 because Andrew Wiggins went nuts. If Andrew Wiggins goes off of this series too, especially, it opens everything for the main guys. And to me, if Wiggins steps up in this series, his first finals, obviously, it opens everything for them. Number 3 for me, Jaylen Brown. And you surprised I didn't say Tatum or anyone else on the Celtics. Here's why. Jaylen Brown, to me, I've always said Jaylen Brown was always the scariest guy on the team, even more than Jason Tatum, because to me, streaky shooters always scare me because you don't know where to come from. You don't know when to get hot. Tatum is expected to be great every night, but Jaylen Brown is going to be the guy that decides the series for the Celtics. If Jaylen Brown goes nuts, this is a 7-game series. If Jaylen Brown goes nuts alongside with Tatum and Smart and the defense doing their thing, this series goes 7 games, and Boston has a great chance of winning this series. Okay, so Jaylen Brown is the most important Boston Celtic in this series, in my opinion. Number 2, Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr, why? Because Steve Kerr can change an can really start talking about all-time greats. I think people have been apprehensive of giving Steve Kerr his flowers because he has Steph Curry and he has Klay Thompson, which is stupid because it's not like they just started, other than Kevin Durant, it's not like they started gobbling guys, free agents off the street. The main core outside Kevin Durant for 3 years has been the main core, and Steve Kerr was the one that put him over the top. Steve Kerr wins this title here. That's 4. That's 4 titles. Now you get into that. Now you get into the close to that Popovich, Phil Jackson range in terms of one team dominance and all that. Steve Kerr wins the title here. We're talking about Steve Kerr now in the all-time great. I think Steve Kerr might be already a top 5 guy, but again, there's a lot of people who still are apprehensive about giving him his flowers. You put Steve Kerr and another title here. That's 4 Steve Kerr. He's now, in my opinion, the top 5 all-time coaches in the league. All-time, not necessarily now, in the league. Number 1, easy, Steph Curry. Because everything changes with Steph Curry. I said it on the podcast last week. If Steph Curry wins one more ring with a Finals MVP. Now, the caveat is winning a Finals MVP. If he does that, we're now having a top 10 discussion. He's already a generational player. He's easily one of the top 3 guys of this generation. Okay? Steph Curry wins another ring with Finals MVP. We're now talking about him in entering possibly a top 10 all-time discussion in the Jordan, Bird, Magic, LeBron, Kareem, all that. Now, I'm not saying that he will be top 10 definitely, but he's not going to door. And he definitely, in my opinion, separates from Kevin Durant. Even though Kevin Durant's a better player, we all agree Kevin Durant's a better player, in the end, Steph Curry will have the accolades, and he'll have multiple rings without Kevin Durant, especially too, and the Finals MVP on top of that to solidify his spot. And to be fair to Steph Curry too, also, he's doing it with the same team from day one. And to me, there's a lot of value in that, man. It really is. So again, Draymond Green 5, Andrew Wiggins 4, Jaylen Brown 3, Steve Kerr 2, and Stephen Wardell Curry at number 1. Most players, most pressure in these finals. Speaking of pressure, the Lakers have a new head coach, Darvin Ham. Darvin Ham, former Bucks assistant. Again, my thoughts on this really, I'm really going based on people that know Darvin Ham. He looks like a guy that is going to be able to hold the fort down, hopefully. We'll see. LeBron came out and basically, LeBron James really came out and just said, seemed pretty excited about the hire, saying let's go and, D-Ham and all that. He looks like a no-nonsense guy, honestly. Also, great to see that now with this hire, we now have 15 black head coaches in the league. Love seeing it. Love it. Half the league now are black coaches. Let's hope it sustains going forward, and let's hope we can get those guys, not only black coaches in the league, hope we get black men also and women as well too into executive roles going forward in the NBA. Love seeing it here in the NBA. Half the coaches in the league are black. Let's hope they can sustain and success going forward with that too. Obviously, you have Udoka, black coach in the finals this year too as well. So it's good to see that. But Lakers obviously, here's the question: Russell Westbrook. We're not hearing reports that he's going to stay here another year. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's just talk speak just to kind of throw people off. In the spirit trade talk and all that, but Darvin Ham has challenges here. He has challenges here. LeBron, obviously, coaching LeBron ain't easy for starters. Let's go there. AD, stay healthy. Can he stay healthy going forward? I don't know. This is who he is now. Okay, and Russell Westbrook, because Russell Westbrook was a problem last year. And some of the things he was saying, was out of this world. Like saying that I know there's a lot of pressure coming to LA. Like LA, Lakers. You grew up a Laker fan. How do you not know this? Seriously. So there's a lot of challenges coming up for Darvin Ham and the Lakers. And, again, as I said earlier in the podcast, I don't know if the Lakers are going to be a team back in the mix, when you're talking about, NBA championship contenders. I can't. If AD can't change it, it's just simple. And I'll say it again. If Anthony Davis is able to play basketball more than 50 games a year, then sure, I could probably put it in the conversation, So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, with Darvin Ham, I'm excited. I'm actually, to be honest with you, I'm really happy the Lakers didn't actually go for the retread. Going after some other guy in the NBA that's had jobs upon jobs. And I'm not saying Frank Vogel wasn't deserving the job. I think Frank Vogel did a good job considering everything. I mean, the guy won an NBA championship, for crying out loud. I don't care what it says about that. But when you have to deal with two-pronged problem here when you coach the Lakers. Number one, you're dealing with LeBron James and company, and of course stars, okay, and then you're coaching the Lakers. It is the most glamorous and most pressured job in that league. Definitely top 5, top 3 in all sports in this country. So there's a lot of pressure that comes with that anyway, So, but a guy like Darvingham, and I don't know much about him other than what people have said, said on media and what I've heard from people say about him and people at the Bucks and whatnot. He seems like a no nonsense guy. He looks like he's a guy that's ready to take on this job at all fronts. And, good luck to Lakers and see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of pressure, but from the optics alone, it does feel like this guy is ready to take on this challenge moving forward. All right, let's get on to some hockey, actually. Yes, hockey. I've been trying to, keep with the NHL playoffs. This is the first year where actually the NBA is actually ahead of the NHL by a week or two in terms of where they're at in the playoffs. Normally, it's the other way around by a few weeks, because the NHL had a break in February, of course. I used to be a really hardcore NHL fan back in the day, back when I was a teenager and a young adult. Once that lockout / strike back in 2006, I think it was, it happened, 2005 happened, it kind of got hard for me. And then, of course, I'm an NBA guy, hardcore, more than any other league in this country. More than the NFL, more than Major League Baseball. But when you have two leagues that literally, for the most part, within 2 weeks of each other, run perpendicular seasons from the same time and the same time, it's kind of hard, especially when you have a family and everything else, to follow both tediously. And I'm going to choose the NBA all day and twice on Sunday. You know that. That's just what it is. But I've been able to watch, first off, down here. Now, I'm a Rangers fan. I'm a New York Rangers fan anyway, and I have been since I was a child. But this year was special here in South Florida because the Florida Panthers had a fantastic year. They won the President's Cup. They had the best record in hockey. So I was kind of invested in that a little bit too. And then, of course, they lose, get swept to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Meanwhile, I'm also following the Rangers. They're down 3-1 against Pittsburgh in the first round. They come back with that series. And they're down 3-2 against Carolina in the series. And they come back last night. I watched the game last night, Game 7, against Carolina on the road. And they beat that ass 6-1. And I'm trying to, obviously, now we're in the finals of the NBA. Now we got more games, days up between games now. It's more, there's time for me to watch hockey now like I used to. Let me say this much, real quick, just reminding folks, while I'm an NBA guy, and I always will be an NBA guy overall, the NHL playoffs, there's nothing better in sports than the NHL playoffs. Nothing better. NHL playoffs, it absolutely shits on any other sport, even the NFL. And the NFL playoffs are always, for the most part, pretty decent. The NHL playoffs are the best playoff in any sport in this country. End discussion. Because it's so unpredictable. You have, again, the Panthers won the President's Cup this year. They're out in the second round playoffs. Only 2 teams in 20 years that have won the President's Cup also won the Stanley Cup and win the whole thing. That should tell you something. That it's unpredictable, and you see 8 seeds hanging around and doing some big things in recent years. I love the NHL playoffs. I think it's great, and I wish, man, it'd be so much easier to follow the NHL if I didn't have to worry about the NBA too as well. Running at the same time, but time is of the essence in this household. I don't have time to watch every single thing, so it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm enjoying it. I'm happy as a Rangers fan. As a Rangers fan, I'm happy we're in the East Conference Finals. Imagine me last 2 nights having to sweat 2 Game 7s. The Heat on Sunday, and then the Rangers on Monday. One or two are got it right, of course, but it is what it is. Baseball talk here now. The New York Mets are on fire. They are now, as of entering tonight, they were 9.5 games in first place, ahead of there was the Braves. And I think last time I checked, they were up against the Nationals tonight too as well. Man, I'm trying not to really get too crazy about the Mets this year. Remember last year they did the same thing too. They had a great start, and then June happened. Once it got to June and July, late June, early July, things fell apart. And I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself. But I've been saying it every so often on this podcast the last couple months now. This Mets team feels a little different, man. Buck Showalter, that clubhouse, feels a lot different this year. The Mets might actually be for real this year. They might be for real. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself here, obviously. But, man, this team feels a lot different than one last year. And the starts of this team is very similar to what it was last year. But the difference is that I feel like this team actually believes in itself now. Like I said, don't want to get ahead of myself here. And the thing is, too, also, they're doing it with Jiggy DeGrom has that pitching single game this year. He's still hurt. They say he'll come back in late June. I say hold him out as long as you can. You don't need to rush him back now. As well as you're playing now with this team, you don't need to rush him back right now. Max Scherzer gets hurt 2 weeks ago. He's been out 6 to 8 weeks. And they're doing that with the 2 match pitchers not being available. And they're still winning games. It's crazy how good this team is. But again, I don't want to get myself because people tell me now, you do this every year. Mets start great and then you fall apart. And I'm not doing it. I'm just enjoying the ride. Hopefully they continue to sustain. They get Scherzer and DeGrom healthy in late summer, into the fall, in time for pennant, and hopefully they close the deal there. Just get into the playoffs, man, and then we'll see what happens there. But hey, listen, this Mets team might be for real. I hope they do it, man. This is the one team that, yes, I was born in '86 when they won the title, but I was not old enough to appreciate it. Of all my sports teams I root for, I've seen the Heat obviously win 3 titles. I've seen the Giants win 3 of the 4 Super Bowls. Like I said, the Giants were in '87. They won the first Super Bowl in '87, but I was not '86 rather. Super Bowl for the Giants. I was not old enough to appreciate it. So I've gotten to see 3 of the New York Giants Super Bowls titles. Experience that, of course. And then of course, what am I missing now? The Rangers in '94 when they won in '94 with Mark Messier and company. So the Mets is the one I have not really been able to experience as a young adult to now. And that'd be great to see if the Mets can do it. I mean, they came close to 2015, losing the Royals in 5 games, but in many World Series. But we'll see what happens there. But it'd be great. I mean, if the Mets win the title, man, it'd be fantastic. I mean, they'd be one of the. I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's going forward. It's a life changer for me, but man, that'd be awesome, man. Seriously. So, all right, some wrestling talk here. So this past Sunday was the AEW Double Nothing pay-per-view. This was I believe the 4th one. The 4th Double Nothing event, I didn't get to watch it because I had planned. I said on the last pod that I had planned that if there was not a Game 7 between Heat and Celtics, that me and my co-host of Take It Wrestling, Mikey B, would go to movie theater to watch the entire event. Because they're showing this in certain select theaters, and there was one in Boca Raton that he had found, and I told him I'll go if there's no Game 7. Of course, it was a Game 7, so I told him can't make it. Heat Celtics. I gotta stay home watching Heat Celtics. I mean, that's what I do. And again, so the Heat game ends, obviously at about 11-ish, 15-ish, whatever you call it. I go to bed at about midnight. Okay, I'm not really following what's going on with AEW because normally. I hold my Twitter open and see what's going on, but I didn't really follow much on there. I got some texts from my old friend of the pod, Ray Moraldi, because he was at the event, of course, and then Mike sent me, I think, a text or two, of course, but it had nothing to do with AEW. It had to do with the Heat Celtics, of course, because he brought his iPad, but I can't do that. If I'm watching Heat game 7 going to the finals, I am not going anywhere else but my TV at home. So I'm going to bed about midnight on Sunday night, obviously, after the game. And then I get a text. I get a thing from Bleach Report saying that the main event is now starting between CM Punk and Adam Page. I'm like, how is the main event starting this late? The event started literally at 8 o'clock, 4 hours ago. I've had so many different issues with AEW, and I've always been accused of being an AEW mark on my own podcast and all that. And I love AEW. I think they've done a great job. I think they've done a good job. Recently, their roster's improved in recent years, especially too with CM Punk coming in and other great talent. You saw Ember Moon, what's her name? Athena, her real name now on AEW. So you've seen improvements. The women's division, which I complained about for years, that's improved vastly. Hopefully you can start seeing more women's matches on the card moving forward. That's another thing I have with Tony Khan. But the one issue with Tony Khan, I've been saying since the beginning, since the start of the company, Tony Khan. We do not need 4-hour plus pay-per-views. It is too long. Like I'm actually watching Double Nothing right now. I'm actually watching it on, in hindsight. My buddy of mine gave me, access to the, to his, the pay-per-view. So I'm watching it now. And I can't get through the whole thing. I'm still like halfway through, only halfway. That's another 2 hours watching it, and it's too much. It's too much. We don't need 4 pay-per-views. And I get, it was a holiday next day. Look. It'd be one thing if you're doing 4+ hour pay-per-views if you were doing it on a Saturday. Because there's no school the next day. There's no work, whatever. But I have to work Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Okay? So me doing and someone who's dedicated to me watching AEW wants, watching a 4-hour pay-per-view that ends at close to 1 o'clock, then I still got to get home and go to sleep and get, a little bit of sleep. And on a school night especially, too. If this is a school night, it'd be worse. So, we don't need 4+ hour pay-per-views, Tony Khan. I know you want to put every match in there. You don't need 13 matches. You don't need every match going over 20 minutes. You don't need all that. Like, cut the fat, make your pay-per-views efficient, okay? I get it. You only do 40s a year. I get that, but you don't need 4-hour pay-per-views, okay? Seriously, you don't need it. I don't know why he keeps doing it for. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I get it. It's the holiday next day after. I know All Out typically falls on Labor Day weekend. I get it's the holiday after that. And maybe I'm just being selfish here because I'm a guy that even on holidays on Mondays I have to work. I get that. But really, you don't need a long ass. I mean, 3 hours is enough. Okay? Save those matches for the Elevation and Dark and Dynamite and whatnot. Be more efficient with your cards. And by the way, for the record, I have the same complaint to WWE as well too. We don't need 4-hour pay-per-views either. And they do the same thing also too. They were doing WrestleManias for 7 hours and close to 8 hours at one point. Like, we don't need all that, man. Sometimes less is more. It really is. Sometimes less is more. And Tony Khan, if you listen to this podcast, we don't need 4+ hours of pay-per-views. Seriously. Watching the Double Nothing, as I said, I'm only halfway through the pay-per-view. Martha Hart, of course, they had the Owen Hart tournament, throughout the last month or so, and culminated in, both Adam Cole and Britt Baker winning, male and female tournaments. Martha Hart, of course, is the wife of of Owen Hart, who obviously tragically passed away actually this week, 23 years ago. And obviously Martha Hart, and her, her disdain for WWE because she holds him responsible for how was his death and whatnot, and she in fact won a lawsuit against Vince McMahon back in 1999. But it was seeing her talk for the first time. This is the first time I've seen Martha Hart in public since that tragedy, and I gotta tell you, it was weird seeing her, talking in publicly, and I don't know why it felt weird. I mean, I know she has disdain for WWE, but it's weird seeing her on the AEW, side of things, and not so much the I'm not saying it's so much the AEW side of things, but more so just her being publicly, finally being public about her husband, and. And I've always felt that obviously, look, I have my own opinions about Owen Hart and his feud and what they should do. He should be inducted to the Hall of Fame in WWE, of course. She should allow him to do it. But again, I respect her decision not to do that. I know in her case, what happened to Owen it's personal, and I respect her decision not to make that happen. Of course, I know a lot of members of the family disagree with her on that, but again, that's her husband, and she has a right to feel what she feels. I don't know. It's felt weird seeing her up there. I mean, I'm glad she's okay. I'm glad she's obviously strong enough to be back in the wrestling, environment and all that. But I don't know why it felt weird, man. It's weird. But it's good to see her publicly for starters. She looks great too, by the record. It's been a long time, So anyway. Couple things to get out here. I actually finally finished the first season of Winning Time on HBO. Man, the show is fan-fucking-tastic, man. Go watch it, especially if you're a basketball fan, and especially if you're a fan of the Lakers and Celtics and that era of basketball. Again, the show, like I said, Jerry West had issued the show, so Magic Johnson, other people. The show was embellished. I acknowledge that, and to me, the show didn't make me look at Magic or Jerry West any less. Like, in fact, I would argue that Jerry West was the best character on the whole damn show. They embellished a lot of the things that happened. It was a dramatization of real life events, But to me, I didn't look at Kareem any less. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has been told to be an asshole throughout the years. One that very, very hard to talk to and all that. Still one of the greats of all time. Magic Johnson, a little loose with women and all that, but we all assume that, of course. Jerry West being complete psychotic. I think Jerry West is the best character on the show. In fact, I think Jerry West came up more likable on the show as you watch it. But I like the cinematography. I thought that was incredible. The way it was filmed. I thought the type, I don't know if it was typecasting, that was great. The comedy was fantastic. Love the theme song, of course, too. And nailed the era, and nailed it, and nailed what 1979, 1980 was. The Larry Bird thing and some of the little comedies on that, the little comedy within the comedy was great. I can't find really any cons in this, to be honest with you, other than you just hope they're telling the truth, really. I mean, it was embellished, but I'm not everybody else. I know I can take things and not take it personal, not take it as, I know what they're trying to do, stretch the truth a little bit, stretch some of the personalities and all that. But I enjoyed it, man. I was locked in. I was able to finish watching the show in the last couple of weeks. Cause I started the pilot when it first came out, and then the playoffs started, of course, and then I couldn't really, my ADHD is so bad I couldn't even lock into it. But man, the show was great, man. I really, really enjoyed the show. I don't know how far they're going to go into the show, but I mean, you can really if they're going season by season, because season 1 obviously ends with the Lakers win the championship in '80 against the Sixers, Magic Johnson, Game 6, heroics, all that. If they're going to go the entire era, this can easily get 8 to 9 seasons, because you have Showtime really goes to the '89 and Riley's last year in '89, the '88, '89, or 87, '88 season when they win the last title, the 5. And if you want to get even trickier, you can go to 91. But we'll see what happens there. But like I said, it's highly recommended if you watch the show. Fantastic show, man. Winning Time, HBO, best show right now on TV right now this year in 2022. I've also been watching recently too. You guys know I've said a couple times on the podcast that I'm a huge Real World fan. I'm a real fan of specifically, season 4, season 3, which is San Francisco, through Vegas, which is like season 12, I think it is. I watched those religiously, in my teen years and my young adult years. I've been watching Real World Miami. We rewatching it actually for the last couple of days on YouTube. I found it on YouTube actually. What got me watching this again recently was because they, as I said, I think I said a couple episodes ago, Real World New Orleans, which was in 2000, just had the homecoming, and it's on Paramount Plus now, and I've been watching that. And by the way, that I'm gonna do probably gonna do a podcast on its own with Big Jim, James Nees, once the season's over, and do a big review on the show, because that actually I'm really enjoying that homecoming, to be honest with you. But I've been watching Real Miami, and I think Real Miami from 1996, which is season 6, I think it is. Yeah, season 6 is actually the most underrated Real World of all. I've seen. I went on Instagram and did some searching. I found some of those cast members on there, like Cynthia and Joe and who else? Dan Renzi. I really hope. I don't even know if it's a rumor or not, but I really hope they are able to do a Real World Miami homecoming. I like to see where these people are at now in their lives. The Miami season was fantastic. I thought Flora was insane. Who else? Obviously Melissa. She was likable at times, some not likable. Love Sarah. I thought Sarah was very nerdy girl, but obviously she was a very interesting character in the show. But Real Miami was. I love Real Miami. It's definitely my top 3 or 4 favorite seasons of all. Like I said, I heard a rumor that they may be doing homecoming for that. I think that'd be fantastic, honestly. I think that one's underrated. I think Boston's underrated as well too. 97. Seattle's okay, not a big deal. I love Hawaii, of course. Hawaii is the one that got me into the road in the first place. What was 2000? New Orleans, obviously one of the best casts ever, in my opinion. And you can see the homecoming now. It's on TV now, on Paramount Plus now. Back to New York in 2001 was pretty good. That's of course where the Miz came from, the Mike the Miz from WWE, of course. And then the Vegas one was great, And then I think I stopped at Vegas pretty much. I think I watched Paris after that, and that was it. Chicago's okay. San Francisco was one of the best ones of all time. To me, that was the standard of the Real World. That was probably the best Real World of all time, and probably the most popular outside of Vegas. But yeah, Miami was underrated, man. And I'm watching it again. I'm enjoying it. And I remember watching it. It's been years, but I'm like, yeah, I remember that part. I remember that. This man, fantastic season though. So one hack I learned today, recently, not today, but recently, Jamaican patties. Jamaican patties in an air fryer is a game changer. If you guys ever eat Jamaican patties, you go to a store, get it, whether it's a gas station or a Jamaican store, to have it in the little heater, whatever you call it. But you never can get it the same way you buy it in those stores. And normally when you buy it, say at the stores, like at Costco, I've always microwaved it. I mean, microwaved it. It still tastes decent, but it's soft. But I found out that you put it in the air fryer for 10 minutes, it pretty much tastes the same way, and the texture is still the same as you would when I get it out of the store itself, like the Jamaican store, we call where I get it from. And the air fryer to me, man, let me tell you right now, the air fryer, owning an air fryer at this point in 2022 is a must, because air fryers to me has changed everything for me. I don't even buy wings anymore. I buy wings from whether Costco or Target, store, season myself, throw the shit in the air fryer for 15 minutes, and then it's out, and it tastes fantastic. Man, air fryer in general is a game changer. Jamaican patties in the air fryer is another game changer as well too. So, man, if you don't have an air fryer, what are you waiting for? Get one, please. Also, before I go, Top Gun Maverick crushed this week in the theaters. I haven't seen Top Gun in quite a while. The first one, it came out in '86, of course, with Tom Cruise. I really need to see Top Gun Maverick. I'm hearing great things about the movie. All my friends who've seen it have reviewed it, and they said it's a fantastic, fantastic movie. So hopefully I'll be able to. Here's the problem with me. My wife hates Tom Cruise. She absolutely despises Tom Cruise. So the odds of me being able to see it with her definitely are slim to, or none to none, really, because she has no interest in seeing it. So I might need to go alone to see it, or wait for it comes on a streaming service, maybe. Which honestly, the turnaround these days isn't that bad. So, but Top Gun Maverick, I've heard is fantastic. I need to go see it. So, based on what I've heard, and you haven't seen it, go see it. Screw it. Based on what I'm hearing, people I trust, it's a great movie. So, anyway, that will do it for this podcast. On May 31st, 2022. I'm on Twitter at EJChristian7, Ernst Wicked Podcasts across all podcast catchers. Of course, Ernst Wicked Media, please subscribe on YouTube. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers very soon. We're 18 and 17 away from that. Please subscribe if you get a chance. See all the clips and all the concepts we do, and playlists, of course, on there, the video aspects of some of the shows. And other than that, we'll talk soon. Hopefully Thursday night podcast. We'll see what happens. I got a lot going on this weekend, so we'll see if I can throw in a Thursday night podcast. Thursday night late after the finals. We'll see. But we'll talk to you guys soon. Love you guys. Take care, and see ya.